Hi, I'm your host, Mike Vilardi, for this biblical update. Now, I've been studying Bible prophecy for the last 25 years. I wrote the book, The Time of His Coming. I had several TV shows on Cablevision TV after the same name, The Time of His Coming. And now I'm here today to update you on some of the coming events that are going to bring Bible prophecy to pass. Today, we're going to talk about the Antichrist. We're going to talk about who he is, where he's coming from, and how we know when he's going to be on the scene. The events that are going to lead up to the second coming of Christ, the rapture, and all the events that come after that period of time. Now, today is November 19, 2011. We're coming into the year 2012, which the Mayans and many other ancient civilizations have called for the end of the world. But I don't believe that year is going to be the end of the world, but what it's going to do is it's going to signify a tremendous change in the earth. Because according to the Bible, there's going to be an event called the catching up of the saints. When that happens, Satan and all his demons are going to come to earth. Satan is going to take possession of a body. That body is what the Bible refers to as the Antichrist. He will be a ruler that comes from a Mid-Eastern country, and he will ultimately wage war and gain tremendous power. He'll be like Hitler on steroids. So he's the person we're going to talk about today. Now, I'm going to use several reference books because there's a lot of people that have studied the Bible for years and years. That's all they've done their entire life, and they became experts on the Bible and prophecies. One of those peoples is Dake. There's a Bible named after him. It's called the Dake Bible. He lived 50 years ago, and I'm going to read from one of his books. The books I'm reading from is called Revelation Expounded, just because I want you to understand why the Antichrist is supposed to come from the country of Syria. And here's what it says on page 145 of his book. It says Daniel 11:36 through 12:13 definitively identifies the Antichrist as the king of the north, or Syria, at the time of the end. The whole purpose of the vision was to show what shall befall thy people Israel in the latter days, which is in Daniel 10:14. The purpose of this vision over Daniel 7 and Daniel 8 is to narrow down the coming of the Antichrist geographically from the 10 kingdoms of Daniel 7 and the 4 kingdoms of Daniel 8 to the kingdom of Daniel 11, which is the Syrian division of the old Grecian Empire, thus teaching that the Antichrist will come from Syria at the time of the end. Now, the reason I'm reading this and talking about Syria is because as we read the news, we see that Bashar Assad, who is currently the president of Syria, his government is under attack. He sent his security forces into the country to fight with the civilian population. So far, 3,500 people have died. Some of the people in the Syrian army have turned against the army and have joined the civilian rebellion. Well, according to the Bible, the Antichrist is going to have a deadly head wound. Someone is going to try to assassinate him. And what we see happening in Syria is ripe for an assassination. What's happening in the Assad regime right now is going to lead to someone trying to kill him. When that actually happens, he's going to go into a coma. He'll be comatose, laying in a hospital. They'll keep him alive, but he'll be brain dead. And during that period of time when he's laying there brain dead, he'll make a deal with the devil. Satan will enter his body at the time of the catching up of the saints, and he will be the person that in Christianity is known as the Antichrist. Now, to back that up, I have another book called the Bible Code. This book was written in 1995 by Michael Drosnin. And on page 134, he writes this. Now he's talking about Armageddon, which is the very last battle before Jesus Christ returns. And here's what it says. Armageddon is a real place. It is the Greek name for the ancient city in Israel, Megiddo. In Hebrew, Mount Megiddo is Armageddon. It's simply the Greek translation for the name. And they found in the code an interesting translation. Here's what the code says. Armageddon is encoded in the Bible with the name of Syria's leader, Assad. In fact, the name of the actual site of the long prophesied final battle appears with his name in a single skip sequence. Armageddon, Assad, Holocaust. All that does is confirm that the Antichrist is going to come from Syria. Now, in this book, Dake's book, on the book of Revelation, he gives many different scriptures to support that claim. And I'll give you some of them. Reading from where we left off. If the whole division of Daniel 11 concerns only Egypt and Syria, showing the latter-day war between them with the result that Egypt will be finally overthrown by Syria, then it proves that he will come from Syria and not Egypt, Greece, or Turkey, the other three divisions of the old Grecian Empire. The king of the north is the same as the little horn of Daniel 7 and 8, the prince that shall come of Daniel 9, 26 and 27, the son of perdition, the man of sin of 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 12, and the beast of Revelation 13, as proved by the following. All do according to their will for the same length of time, Daniel 20, 25, 8:24, Thessalonians. All will exalt themselves above every god. All are conquerors of the same territory at the same time. All prevail against the saints and Jews during the tribulation. All come out of the 10 kingdoms of revised Rome. All get power and reign over them until all of them are destroyed at Armageddon. All change the times and laws for a time. All reign until the second coming of Christ. Anyway, the purpose is to just show you that Assad of Syria is most likely going to be the man that we will identify as the Antichrist. Now, in relation to Bible prophecy, people have called times and dates, and the Bible tells us we don't know the day or we don't know the hour. All we do is know we're in the season, we're in the time frame. Now, before the rapture can happen, the Antichrist needs to be revealed. How will he be revealed? He will be revealed by getting a deadly wound to his head. At the same time that happens, the false prophet needs to come on the scene. Now, here's what's interesting about the false prophet. 1,400 years ago, a guy named Malachi, and you can go on the internet and put this guy's name in. He was a Catholic prophet, lived about 1,400 years ago, and he had a vision of every pope that would come before the second coming of Christ. And he's named everyone exactly correct till this point in time. Benedict is the second to last pope. The very last pope, he's going to call himself Peter the Great. Now, what he's going to do, Peter the Great, is going to be what the Bible calls the false prophet. He's going to unify the religions of Catholicism with Islam. How is that going to happen, and what is that going to do? Well, they happen to have some common roots. You see, Muhammad, when he started Islam, his brother-in-law was a Catholic priest. So he pulled a lot of stuff about the saints, the idols, the worship, Mary being the mother of God. That's all in the Quran. They talk a lot about Mary, the things she did, how she's revered. So they're gonna come together on these points of commonality that they have in common. When they do that, Sharia law will then be the law of the land. Now, under Sharia law is the law that governs Islam. And in Islam, you're allowed, it's a religion that takes over. It's not a religion that plays well in the sandbox with others. Either you're either part of it or you're not. And if you're not, you're an infidel. If you're an infidel, under Sharia law, you're able to be killed. That's part of the religion. So you could lie, it's called taqiyya, as long as you're able to deceive the infidels. You can kill as long as you're killing the infidels or the non-believers. So Jesus, when he walked the earth, said this, when he was talking about the end times. He says, they will kill you and think they're doing God a service. And that really sums up what Islam is all about, because under Islam, as opposed to Christianity, you're judged on your good deeds. In other words, if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, then you go to heaven. If not, you go to hell. Well, if you're a bad person, or your deeds outweigh your good ones, how could you possibly get into heaven? Under Islam, there's only one way. It's called jihad.